Have you ever seen a belly dance performance and thought to yourself, it's not quite belly dance, but you're not quite sure why? It may have met all the criteria I laid out in my previous video, and yet it's not enough. And that's what we're going to look at today. What are those other aspects, those optional aspects that most belly dance performances have? Hi, I'm Kashmir, and we're going to continue our exploration of what makes belly dance belly dance. We've already looked at the 4 essential elements that all belly dance performances must have, being torso articulated, Middle Eastern derived, the intent, and also the approach. My next list is 7 things I call optional, and they aren't all optional. If you do none of them, then you're probably not looking at belly dance. If you do most of them, you probably are. So, number 1, belly dance is by definition solo. There used to be another term for belly dance called sitta. However, these days, solo belly dance is less and less common. It's partly because there are so many people now, especially in the West, who want to learn to belly dance and then they want to perform. They want to perform in public. And especially with big schools, if you've got 100 people in your school and you want to have a show, and everyone has a solo, that's a very long show. And also students find it a little bit frightening to have to get out there and dance on their own. So if that's one reason why you see less solo work. Also, if you're using belly dance for large corporate work or for outdoor work, you need a lot more colour, you need a lot more impact. And one person doing some very nice but nevertheless subtle dance is not going to cut it. Next, as I said with the sitta, is improvised. By definition, belly dance is an improvised dance form. Now this has a large range of meanings. At the extreme end, it means a dancer can come in with a band that she's never seen before, who will play a Middle Eastern piece of music that she's never heard before, and she will dance it beautifully. Usually people know the band or they know their CD and they've practiced it a few times, so it's sort of semi-improvised. Some people go as far as actually organising their entrance and maybe some special accents, but the rest of it is improvised. So you have a range of possibilities. Middle Eastern music. Belly dance derives from the Middle East, and Middle Eastern music is one of the important aspects of a belly dance performance. It has to be Middle Eastern belly dance music, but because of the complexity of the music suits the dance. You can certainly do belly dance moves to non-Middle Eastern music. I've done it myself. But usually I'd actually label that as a fusion rather than pure belly dance. The way you interpret the music will depend on your mood, so you're improvising, and you can follow a single instrument, you can follow the drum, or you can follow the voice, you can follow the meaning of the song. So you've got a lot of choices, and you're starting to see something else that's going to come through, and that is polyrhythmic, which means that while your feet might be following the drum and your hips might be following something else and your arms are following the... So you actually, each part of your body can be actually following different parts of the music. And that's very characteristic of belly dance. In order to be able to show that you can actually take different parts of the music and express it with different parts of your body, you need to be able to isolate it. So you need to be able to isolate your shoulders from your hips, for example. So when you do a shoulder shimmy, nothing should be happening below the waist. You should be able to walk, for example, and shimmy your hips at the same time. You should be able to do multiple things to follow the different threads of the music, and we call this isolation. Associated with this is another skill called layering. So it's not just a matter of isolating. So you just don't isolate one thing and nothing else happens. As you're isolating one thing, something else is happening, and the term for this is layering. So isolating and layering are an essential part of belly dance. Now, costume. Ha! You can certainly belly dance without a costume. Social belly dance doesn't need any costume, and even professional dancers, I've seen some fantastic performances with dancers wearing, for example, a pullover, or in one case, cargo pants. But if you're actually doing it as entertainment, if you're dancing for somebody else, a costume is part of the whole act. The costume shows what your moves are. So the little sparkly things isn't just for vanity. It actually helps show the movements. So the fringe, for example, will help show your shimmies off. But the costume is not just any costume. It needs to be a costume that suits the music and the moves. If you're bringing folkloric elements into it, then it should be a costume that at least nods towards your source. So I wouldn't dance, for example, ballady in a bra and belt. On the other hand, if I'm doing something like a veil dance with lots of turns, I'll tend to use a nice big skirt to be able to actually see the skirt come out, so I'd actually wear a fuller skirt. The bête noire. Zills, finger cymbals, zagat. Some people think that this is not an optional part of belly dance at all. Some people would think this is complete heresy. If you're belly dancing, you must play finger cymbals. And some people actually start their students learning zills from the very first, or at least the first, if not the first lesson, in the first month that they start. And it is a skill that needs to be developed very early. So most dancers in the United States, for example, would insist on using finger cymbals as part of their performance. Ironically, in Egypt, for the last few decades, very few professional dancers use finger cymbals. They do, however, use zills in folkloric pieces. So if you're doing a Saidi or a Gawazi, for example, zills are sort of de rigueur. And that leaves only veil. I've said 7 items. I've covered 7 items. Veil isn't in there. Veil is a new addition to the belly dance genre. It's been around 100 odd years, used seriously really only since the 1960s, and developed in the States more than anywhere else. You can certainly do belly dance your entire life and never do a veil performance. What do you think? Do you think this is a good set of optional things for belly dance? Have I missed something? Have I got something in there which you think really isn't needed at all, ever? So put the comments down the bottom, what you think, what your list is. Let's start a discussion.